The galaxy was a vast ocean of stars, each system holding its own life, trade, and secrets. But even in this endless expanse, there were places no one liked to visit. The Outer Rim was one of them. It was a cold and empty stretch of space far from the busy lanes of the core worlds. Many called it the Dark Frontier, where light from the main civilizations was faint and where things moved unseen. It started as a rumor in small alien markets. A trader from the insect-like Akron people spoke of strange readings in a sector with no known planets. He claimed his ship's instruments picked up a massive mass, something as large as a small moon. Yet nothing appeared on visuals. At first, others laughed at his story. The Outer Rim had long been a place of ghost tales where captains invented wild stories to pass the time on long trips. But more reports began to appear. A reptilian smuggler swore he saw a shadow crossing the stars, even though there was no nearby sun to cast it. A mining crew from the ice world of Terith claimed their scanners went blind for 5 whole minutes before coming back online. The strange part was, their ship's clock showed no missing time at all. These whispers made their way into the back rooms of cantinas, the silent corners of trade halls, and encrypted transmissions between captains. The stories were all different, but one detail was always the same: something huge was moving in the dark. Far away from the main routes, some of the larger empires took notice. The Zeth coalition sent a small patrol to investigate. Their commander, a cautious bird-like being named Arvuk, took his 3 ships into the uncharted region. For weeks, they scanned and searched, finding nothing but drifting rock and dead space. On their return, Arvuk filed his report. No structures, no ships, no signs of life. The coalition leaders marked it as a low-priority anomaly and moved on. Yet, in the quiet of his own mind, Arvuk was not sure. Something about the way his ship's systems had flickered, just for a heartbeat, still troubled him. He had seen no enemy, but he could not shake the feeling of being watched. Back on the busy planets, life continued as normal. The galaxy was full of noise, wars between empires, trade disputes, and political games. Few had the time to worry about empty space in a forgotten corner. But for those who had heard the whispers, the mystery lingered like a shadow at the edge. A vision far away, beyond the reach of most navigation charts, there was indeed something hidden. It was not a drifting asteroid or an uncharted moon. In that black stretch of space, cloaked by technology unknown to the rest of the galaxy, floated the beginning of a secret that humanity had been guarding for generations. Inside this hidden region lay an entire belt of asteroids, mined and reshaped into colossal structures. Massive hangars were carved deep within, shielded by thick layers of rock. Gigantic frames of metal stretched out under artificial lights, each one the size of mountains. The workers here lived and died without ever leaving the belt. They were born into the secret, taught from childhood that their purpose was to build something greater than themselves. They called it the Forge. It was more than just a shipyard. It was a city of engineers, welders, technicians, and builders, all working without rest. Supplies came from hidden convoys that entered through narrow, well-guarded corridors of space. Every ship that entered was stripped of its navigation logs before it left. The location of the Forge was the most closely guarded secret in human history. The galaxy had once welcomed humanity into its fold. When humans first reached the stars, they were seen as clever but harmless. Their ships were small, their weapons weaker than those of older species. They were invited to trade, but their voices were ignored in major councils. Over time, humans learned an important truth: power in the galaxy came not from words, but from the strength to defend oneself. The great powers fought among themselves for territory, never seeing humanity as a threat. That blindness became humanity's shield, while the empires bled each other dry in endless conflicts. Humans withdrew from the spotlight. They traded just enough to stay in touch, sent diplomats to keep appearances, but quietly they turned their eyes to the Outer Rim. The first step had been building a cloaking network strong enough to hide entire regions of space. The second had been gathering resources, and the final step, the one now in motion, was the construction of something so large and so powerful that no fleet could match it. In the Forge, A young welder named Cal stood on a platform high above one of the construction bays. Before him was the curved surface of something so massive that it disappeared into the haze below. It was not a station, and it was not a simple ship. It was a floating world, its armored plates thicker than a city wall, each one forged from layers of metals mined across dozens of systems. Cal had worked here since he was old enough to hold a welding torch, like everyone else. He had been told. The purpose only in the simplest terms this was for the safety of humanity. He did not know who humanity might need to be saved from, but he had seen enough scraps of intercepted alien transmissions to know there were dangers far greater than pirates or raiders. Somewhere in the galaxy, those dangers were watching, waiting for a chance to take what they wanted. And when that day came, the Forge would be ready. Back in the civilized sectors, the whispers continued. Captain still told of shadows that crossed the stars in places where there should be none. A few curious explorers tried to investigate, but they either returned empty-handed or vanished without trace. The disappearances only fueled the mystery, though few dared to speak too loudly about it. For now, the galaxy's eyes were elsewhere, focused on old rivalries and political games. But the shadows in the outer rim kept moving, quiet and patient. The secret was not ready to be revealed, and those who guarded it would make sure it stayed that way until the time was right. And so, the Forge worked on, unseen by all but its keepers. Each day, the skeletons of giants grew stronger. Each week, new plates of armor were locked into place. And somewhere deep within the heart of humanity's hidden empire, a voice whispered a single promise to the darkness. When the galaxy finally saw what they had built, it would never see humanity the same way again. The Forge was unlike anything else in the galaxy. From a distance, if anyone could have seen it, it would have looked like a scattered belt of asteroids drifting lazily in the cold dark. But behind the false shapes of rock and dust, entire worlds of machinery worked day and night. The Forge was alive with the steady hum of engines, the sparks of welders, and the deep metallic echoes of titanic structures being assembled. The people who lived here had long since stopped thinking of themselves as settlers or travelers. They were builders. Every waking moment was part of the single purpose: create something that would make humanity untouchable. They did not ask questions about politics or alien affairs. Their leaders had told them only what was necessary. The galaxy could not be trusted, and only strength could keep humans safe. Inside one of the largest bays, a machine the size of a tower slid another plate of armor into place. The sound rang through the air, a deep metallic thud that could be felt in the chest. Dozens of workers in reinforced suits guided the process, checking the seams, tightening the locks. They worked as one, trained from childhood to handle the heavy tools and dangerous equipment. In the Forge, there was no wasted movement, no careless hand. One mistake could damage months of work. Mara, a young structural engineer, moved along a walkway suspended above the assembly. Her eyes followed the curve of the structure below. It was so massive she could barely see the far end, lost in a haze of lights and distant movement. To most workers, this was just another day of labor. To Mara, it was a glimpse into the future. She had studied the old records of humanity's first contact with alien civilizations. She had seen the quiet disrespect, the way human representatives were treated as little more than guests in a galaxy run by older and stronger powers. That memory stayed with her as she worked nearby. A convoy of supply ships arrived through one of the hidden approach corridors. These narrow channels were the only safe way in and out of the Forge's location. Each one was surrounded by a dense field of false asteroids, debris, and cloaked defense platforms. A stranger's ship would not survive long without permission to pass. As soon as the convoy entered, human security vessels met them, scanning every cargo hold. No risk could be taken that might expose their secret. Once cleared, the supplies were delivered to different sectors of the Forge. Raw metals went to the smelting bays, where enormous furnaces melted and purified them. Advanced components were sent to specialized workshops. Food and essentials went to the living districts, where workers had simple but comfortable homes. Life here was hard, but no one starved. and no one was without shelter. It was a life built on purpose. The forge had been active for generations. The first workers were pioneers who chose to disappear from the known galaxy. Their children were born in the shadow of great machines, raised with stories of Earth in the early days of space travel. Now, those children's children were the labor force, and many had never even seen a planet's surface. Their world was steel, rock, and the endless black beyond. Deep within the command sector, the Leadership Council met in a chamber surrounded by walls of screens. Holographic displays showed the progress of multiple construction projects. The largest of these was nearing completion. Its core engines were already operational, and the primary hull was sealed in time. This would become one of humanity's first planet-sized warships. Admiral Rian, the head of Forge Security, stood beside the project director, an older man named Solon. They spoke quietly as they studied the display. Outer sectors report no breaches, Rian said. Scanners picked up a small unknown signal last week, but the patrol erased it before it could transmit. The pilot was released after his memory was altered. Solon nodded. Good. We cannot afford a single mistake. The moment they know what we are building, the galaxy will unite against us. Rian's voice was calm but firm, and when they do, they will find us ready. That readiness was the entire reason the Forge existed. Humanity had seen the fate of smaller civilizations that had been crushed by stronger ones. They had also seen the endless wars between great powers, each one trying to claim more territory. In the shadows of these struggles, humans had quietly gathered the resources and knowledge needed to build something unmatched. In the workshops, engineers assembled weapons larger than most ships. Giant energy projectors were designed to pierce the strongest shields. Missile silos were hidden deep within armored hulls, able to launch volleys that could shatter fleets. But these ships were not only for battle. They had entire farming zones, water systems, and manufacturing districts built inside. They were floating worlds, able to survive alone for centuries if needed. Life on the Forge followed a strict rhythm. Every shift was planned, every worker knew their role. The leadership allowed little room for personal ambition outside the shared goal. But there was also a sense of pride that bound the people together. They believed they were part of something greater than any single life, something that would protect not only them, but every human world across the stars. Mara finished her inspection and returned to the transit rail, a high-speed transport that ran through the main sections of the Forge. As the rail moved, she watched the endless construction through its wide windows. Tower cranes swung massive parts into place. Automated drones floated between structures, welding and adjusting with precision. Huge storage tanks and engine cores glowed faintly with the energy being fed into them. In the distance, she could see the start of another frame being laid out, the foundation of what would one day be another planet ship. The sight filled her with both awe and determination. This was no longer just an idea. It was becoming real, piece by piece. Back in the control chamber, Solon dismissed the council with final instructions. The room emptied, leaving him alone with the glowing models of the Forge's works. For a moment, he let himself imagine the day when the ships would launch. He saw them emerging from the black, their shadows falling over the fleets of rival empires. He imagined the message they would send without firing a single shot. Humanity would never again be overlooked. Far outside the hidden borders, the galaxy continued as before. Merchant fleets moved goods between star systems. Pirates raided small colonies. Great empires argued over old disputes. No one paid attention to the quiet sector where the Forge lay hidden. That was the way humanity wanted it, for now. The Silent Forge remained exactly what its name promised: silent. Its people kept working, its leaders kept planning, and its secrets stayed safe. But the day would come when the silence would end, and the galaxy would hear the voice of the giants it had never seen. The galaxy was watching, even if most did not know it. The rumors about strange movements in the Outer Rim had reached the ears of many powers. Among them was the Zeth Coalition, a proud empire of bird-like beings who valued order and control. They could not ignore the whispers any longer. Commander Var was chosen to lead the investigation. He was an experienced scout with sharp instincts and a reputation for caution. His ship, the Glider Hawk, was small but fast, perfect for reconnaissance. The coalition's leaders wanted answers, and they wanted them quietly. Var's mission was simple: find the source of the strange signals and report back. If there was a threat, he was to avoid contact and return with the information. But Var had learned in his years of service that missions often changed. Once they began, the Glider Hawk slipped through the shadows of the outer rim, scanning every rock and field of debris. For days, nothing unusual appeared. Then, suddenly, a faint energy signature appeared on the scanners. It was small, weak, and unlike anything Var had seen before. Curious. He adjusted the sensors to focus on the source. The readings flickered in and out as if something was hiding behind a cloak. Var ordered his ship closer, but as he approached, his systems began to fail. The ship's power dropped, communication scrambled, and his navigation started to go wild. Var gritted his beak in frustration. This was no accident. Something was deliberately blocking his instruments. Then a sudden pulse of energy hit the Glider Hawk, forcing it out of stealth. Before Var could react, two larger ships appeared from behind a cluster of asteroids. They moved quickly and surrounded his vessel. "Identify yourselves," Var said through the comms, trying to keep his voice steady. His hands hovered over the controls, ready for emergency maneuvers. A calm human voice replied, "You are in restricted space. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded." Var hesitated. The humans had never shown this kind of force before. Their usual ships were small and threatening. This was different. "Powering down," Var said, though inside he planned to keep some systems active. His ship's engine slowed as the human patrol vessels locked onto the Glider Hawk. Minutes later, Var was escorted aboard a much larger human vessel. The interior was clean and efficient. Humans moved with purpose, but without hostility. Var's weapons were removed, and he was taken to a secure room. There, he met Commander Yali, a tall woman with sharp eyes and calm presence. She explained that the area was protected by an advanced cloaking field, and that any unauthorized ships were immediately detected and captured. Var listened carefully. "Why do you hide so far out? What is your purpose?" Jail's answer was simple but firm. "We protect ourselves. The galaxy is full of threats. We build to survive." Var nodded slowly. He had heard similar words before from weaker species who wished to stay out of conflicts. But something about these humans was different. Their power was quiet, but real. Before long, Var was returned to his ship. His memories of the location were altered by the human technology. He retained only a vague sense of unease and respect. As he left the sector, he looked back at the stars, wondering what other secrets humanity might hide. Back in the coalition capital, Var's report was met with disbelief and concern. The leaders did not want to believe humans were building something so powerful. Yet, the signs were there, and the galaxy would soon have to face a new reality. Meanwhile, deep within the forge, the builders continued their work. They knew eyes were watching, but they trusted their technology and their will to keep their secrets safe. The galaxy was changing. The shadows were moving, and humanity was ready to show the strength it had hidden for so long. Deep inside the silent forge, the air buzzed with energy. For years, the massive ship had taken shape, hidden from all eyes. Now, it was no longer just a skeleton of metal. The first great warship was coming to life. Cal stood at the edge of the observation deck, his eyes wide as he watched the enormous core glow with a soft blue light. This core was the heart of the ship, a fusion reactor so powerful it could supply energy to entire cities on distant planets. Round him, hundreds of workers moved with a quiet excitement. Machines hummed and drones flew through the air, connecting cables and securing heavy plates. The ship was not just a machine. It was a new kind of home, a fortress that could protect humanity like never before. Mara, the structural engineer, joined Cal. She smiled and pointed toward the massive control tower rising above the main hull. "This is more than just a ship," she said. "It's a city. We've built farms, living spaces, even schools inside. The people who live here can survive without help for decades. Cal nodded, still amazed. It feels like we've created a whole world inside this metal giant. Mara looked serious. That's exactly the point. Out there, the galaxy is dangerous. If anyone tries to harm us, we need to be ready. This ship can move, fight, and last longer than any fleet. The warship was called Iron Dawn. It was the first of many to come. Its hull stretched thousands of kilometers. The armor was layered with new alloys that could resist the strongest weapons known. Giant turrets lined its surface, each one capable of firing bursts of energy that could level cities. Inside, the ship's systems were connected by a web of artificial intelligence and human crews. The AI helped control navigation, defense, and life support. The human crew made decisions and ensured everything worked smoothly. As Iron Dawn neared completion, its engines roared to life for the first time. The ground beneath the forge trembled. The energy spread through the ship's structure like a pulse of power. At the command center, Commander Yali stood before a wide holographic display. She studied the readings carefully. Every system was showing green. The ship was alive. Outside the hidden bays, the galaxy still did not know what was happening. No fleets patrolled the outer rim near the forge. Traders passed through without notice. But soon, that would change. The first test was scheduled. Iron Dawn would leave the hidden construction site and travel to a nearby star system. It was a bold move. The ship would show its power and test its systems far from the safety of the forge. Cal and Mara prepared to join the crew for the maiden voyage. Cal felt a mix of pride and nerves. This was no longer a secret project. It was a message. The day came. The massive doors of the forge slowly opened, revealing the gleaming surface of Iron Dawn. Light reflected off its armor in patterns no telescope had ever seen. The ship moved forward, engines glowing with power. Outside, the black of space seemed to hold its breath. Iron Dawn slid through the stars, its systems humming perfectly. Sensors scanned the empty space ahead. The ship could detect threats far beyond the range of ordinary vessels. In the control room, Commander Yali spoke calmly to her crew. This is just the beginning. We are no longer hidden. The galaxy will see what humanity can do. Suddenly, the sensors picked up a distant fleet approaching. It was the Driss Dominion, a powerful empire known for its aggressive expansion. Their ships were large and heavily armed. They had no idea what Iron Dawn was. As the Dominion fleet closed in, Iron Dawn raised its shields. Energy flared along the edges of its armor. The warship was ready. But Commander Yali did not order an attack. Instead, she activated the ship's communications. A voice echoed through space, clear and firm. We are the guardians of humanity. We do not seek war, but we will end it if it comes to us. The Dominion fleet stopped, confused. Their sensors could not penetrate the powerful shields. They had never faced anything like this for hours. The two sides held their positions. Neither wanted to start a fight, but neither could back down. Then, slowly, the Dominion commander ordered a retreat. The ships turned away, disappearing into the distance. Back on Iron Dawn, the crew cheered softly. They had sent a message without firing a single shot. Humanity's secret was now a visible force in the galaxy. Cal looked out the viewport, feeling hope and determination. This was more than a ship. It was a symbol of what humans could achieve when they worked together. Mara smiled beside him. The galaxy will never forget this day. The awakening steel had risen, and it would change everything. The galaxy was no longer silent about humanity's power. The Iron Dawn had made its presence known. News traveled faster than any ship could fly, reaching every empire, every council, and every outpost. Some were fearful, others were curious. Many were angry. In the heart of the Selenar Empire, a gathering was called. The Selenar were known for their wisdom and influence across many star systems. Their leaders debated what this new power meant. Could humans be trusted, or was this the start of a dangerous conflict? High Chancellor Varan stood before the assembly, his voice calm but firm. We cannot ignore the message sent by the Iron Dawn. Humanity has shown strength beyond what we believe possible. We must respond with caution, not fear. His words carried weight, but not everyone agreed. The general of the Selenar fleet, a hard man named Kellen, argued for immediate action. If we wait, they will grow stronger. We should strike now and show them the cost of rebellion. Vern raised his hand, silencing the room. War should be the last option. We must seek understanding first. Meanwhile, on the Iron Dawn, life went on. The ship was no longer just a weapon. It was a moving base for exploration and diplomacy. Commander Yali prepared her crew for a new mission, one to reach out to nearby systems and offer peace or defend if needed. Cal and Mara worked closely together. Cal was assigned as a tactical officer, while Mara continued her role overseeing structural integrity. Both felt the weight of the moment. Every decision could affect not only their ship, but all of humanity. During a routine systems check, Mara noticed an unusual reading. A small energy spike coming from a distant star system near the border of known space. It was faint, but steady. She reported it to Commander Yali immediately. Could it be a signal? Yali asked, her eyes narrowing. Possibly, Mara answered. But it does not match any known communication pattern. It could be a warning or a trap. Yali made her decision quickly. We will investigate. Prepare the ship for departure. The Iron Dawn changed course, moving toward the source of the signal. As they approached, the crew watched with tense anticipation. The stars around the system looked peaceful, but they all knew appearances could be deceiving. When they arrived, sensors revealed a small outpost orbiting a barren planet. It appeared abandoned at first, but then a hidden transmitter activated, sending a burst of energy directly at Iron Dawn. Alarms blared. The ship shook as the energy pulse hit its shields. Status report, Yali demanded. Shields holding. Cal answered, but this was no accident. Someone wanted to provoke us. Prepare defensive systems. Yali ordered, we will not fall into a trap. Suddenly, dozens of smaller ships appeared from behind the planet, surrounding Iron Dawn. They were fast and armed with weapons designed to exploit weaknesses in human technology. Enemy fleet detected, Cal said. They are trying to disable our engines. The crew worked quickly to repair damage and strengthen defenses. The battle was on, for hours. Iron Dawn faced wave after wave of attackers. The ship's massive guns fired back, each blast shaking the emptiness of space. The small enemy ships were agile, but they could not match the raw power of the planet-sized warship. Inside the command center, Yali coordinated the fight with calm precision. Focus fire on the lead ships, disrupt their formations, Cal directed. The energy turrets while Mara monitored structural stress on the hull. The ship groaned under fire, but the armor held firm. After a fierce battle, the enemy fleet began to retreat. They left behind wreckage and silence. The crew of Iron Dawn exhaled deeply. They had survived the attack, but they knew this was only the beginning. Commander Yali addressed her crew. We have proven that humanity will not be easily defeated. But this attack was a clear message. The galaxy fears us. Cal looked around the room. What now? Will they keep attacking? Yali shook her head. They will try to find weakness. We must be ready. Our mission is no longer just survival. It is leadership. Mara spoke softly. We built these ships to protect humanity. Now, we must use them to protect peace. As Iron Dawn set course back to the forge for repairs and reinforcement, a new determination filled the crew. The trigger had been pulled, and the galaxy had taken notice. Humanity was no longer hidden in the shadows. The time for hiding was over. The time for standing strong had come. The attack on Iron Dawn changed everything. The galaxy was no longer a place where humanity could hide or remain silent. News of the battle spread quickly. Some called it a provocation, others a warning, but all agreed that the age of peace was ending. Inside the silent forge, preparations began for the coming storm. The workers who had built the ships for years now hurried to finish the next warships. They understood that the quiet years were over. The galaxy would challenge them, and they had to be ready. Cal and Mara returned with the damaged Iron Dawn. The ship's wounds were heavy but repairable. In the great repair bays, Teams worked day and night to restore the mighty warship Cal. Walked through the corridors, feeling the weight of responsibility. He knew the coming battles would test everything they had built, but he also saw something else: hope. The crew was united, and their faith in humanity's strength was stronger than ever. Mara joined him near the ship's engineering center. The repairs will take time, she said, but we are already working on improvements. New shield technology, stronger engines. We will be ready, Cal nodded. The galaxy won't wait for us. They will come again. Far from the forge, the Stellar Empire and other powers watched humanity's growing might with mixed feelings. Some prepared their fleets, building alliances, and making plans. The galaxy was moving toward war, but not all were eager to fight. Many voices called for diplomacy, for talks and treaties. They saw what happened during the attack and feared destruction on a scale never seen before. In the midst of this, a small delegation from the Stellar Empire arrived at the forge. Their mission was clear: to negotiate with humanity before more blood was spilled. Commander Yali met the delegation in the main conference hall. The room was large and bright, a symbol of the new era. The leaders of the Stellar delegation looked cautious, but hopeful. High Chancellor Vran spoke first. We come not as enemies, but as neighbors seeking peace. The attack on your ship was not ordered by all of us. We wish to avoid war. Yali nodded. Peace is what we want too, but we will defend ourselves if threatened. Cal watched quietly as the talks began. The delegation asked many questions about the forge, the warships, and humanity's future plans. Yali answered honestly, but without revealing all secrets. Mara noticed tension in the room. They fear what they do not understand, she said. We must show them that humanity is strong but reasonable. The negotiations lasted days. Some points of agreement were reached, trade routes could be opened, and communication lines established. But the deep fear of humanity's power remained after the delegation left. Yali gathered her officers. We have bought time, she said, but the galaxy is watching. We must continue to grow stronger. Cal felt the weight of those words. The Iron Dawn was just one ship. The next battles would be bigger and harder. The coming months were a storm of activity. New warships were completed and tested. Crews trained harder than ever before. The Silent Forge became a hub of preparation for the conflict that loomed out one evening. As Cal and Mara walked through the shipyards, they saw something: new children. Playing near the giant hulls of the ships, life continued even as war approached. The hope for the future was real. We fight not only for ourselves, Mara said softly, but for those who come after us. Cal smiled. And we will show the galaxy that humanity will never be broken. The rising storm was here. The galaxy would soon learn what it meant to face a people who refused to be forgotten. The galaxy held its breath. After months of preparation, the day had finally come. The Iron Dawn and its sister ships were ready. The Great Fleet, once a secret, now moved openly through the stars. Humanity was no longer hiding. It was time to speak with strength. Commander Yali stood on the command bridge of the Iron Dawn. She watched the stars streak past as the massive ship moved at faster than light speed. Around her, the crew worked in calm focus. This was the moment they had trained for. Cal stood beside her, scanning the nearby systems for any sign of trouble. The new ships, powerful and sleek, flew in formation. The galaxy had many eyes watching, and the humans wanted to make their voice heard. Suddenly, the communications officer called out, "Commander, incoming message from the Zeth Coalition fleet. They request a meeting." Yali nodded. "Open a secure channel." The screen flickered, revealing the image of Commander Var, the scout who had first encountered the Iron Dawn months before. His feathers were ruffled, but his eyes held respect. "Commander Yali," Var said, "we have watched your fleet. The galaxy fears what you represent, but we seek peace. Let us talk." Yali replied, "We want peace as well. Let this meeting be the start of understanding, not war." The meeting was arranged on a neutral space station near the edge of the Coalition territory. Both fleets agreed to keep their weapons offline, a sign of trust. When Yali and Var met face to face, the tension was strong, but the conversation was honest. You humans have shown power no one expected. Var said, but power without control is dangerous. Yali smiled slightly. We have learned that lesson well. Our strength is not just in our ships, but in our will to protect and grow. The two leaders spoke for hours. They discussed threats from other parts of the galaxy, possibilities for alliances, and fears that had long divided their peoples. Outside the station, the galaxy watched. The first step toward peace between these two great forces was a sign of hope. Back on Iron Dawn, Cal felt a deep sense of pride. This is the moment humanity has waited for. Our voice is strong now, but Yali warned, peace is fragile. We must be ready to defend it. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. The station's sensors detected a large fleet moving fast toward them. It was the Driss Dominion, the same empire that had attacked before. They do not want peace, Yali said. Prepare for battle. The fleets rushed to defend the station. The Driss ships opened fire, their weapons blazing through space. Iron Dawn roared to life, its guns firing massive energy blasts that tore through enemy vessels. The smaller human ships moved quickly, using speed and precision to outmaneuver the attackers. The battle was fierce. Explosions lit the darkness of space. The fate of the peace talks hung in the balance. In the heat of battle, Jail's voice remained steady. Hold the line. Protect the station. Cal directed the defense systems, guiding the crew through the chaos. Mara monitored the hull, reporting damage and suggesting repairs. Slowly, the combined forces of the humans and the coalition pushed the Dominion back. The attackers retreated, leaving behind silence once more. When the battle ended, the station was damaged but standing. The peace talks could continue. Commander Var turned to Yali. Today, we fought not as enemies, but as allies. Yali nodded. This is the future we must build together. As the fleets separated, the galaxy understood that humanity's voice was no longer silent. The giant ship and its fleet had spoken loudly and clearly. They were here to stay. They were ready to defend their place among the stars. And the galaxy would never forget the day humanity showed its true power.